Hey, how are you? Welcome into the Adam Groom Show, where you're going to get some takes from Groomer. Funny story, true story. Dropped my phone in the bathroom today. Case didn't stand a chance. Cracked screen on the back side. The camera indicator light is now covered because the screen is all like blurry. But it works, and it's going to work. That noise you might hear in the background is just some delicious homemade soup being made. Everything is fine. Everything's okay. We're going to do this Trade Center special edition. I think we're going to do it in 3 parts. Maybe it'll end up being 2, but there's a lot of names on this list. Some of them have already fallen. Just as this program was set to go on the air, Carson Soucy traded from Vancouver to the Rangers. We sat back, we kind of wondered what the hell the Rangers were doing. They traded Riley Smith back to Vegas today, or earlier, or later last night, whatever it was. Vegas just continues to improve. They bring back Riley Smith, and we'll even talk more about Vegas because they always seem to have interest in everything that's going on, and they always find a way to make the money work. It's what they've done. But yeah, Soucy from Vancouver to the Rangers. Interesting there, because Lindgren got shipped out last week by the Rangers. It seems like they have a lot of good pieces there that they want to move forward with. They're only a few points out of the playoffs. I would not want to play them in the first round at all. I think they're a team that could still figure it out. They're just bringing in bodies that can still get the job done, and we'll see how that goes. So we got the list here. Shout out to Trade Center and Sports Center and the TSN. I've got their trade bait list here. Didn't have really time to look at it and make my own, but we do see Carson Soucy was number 8 on their list, so the little notes that I made, we will cross him right off. I actually had him maybe going to Winnipeg as even more depth there, but I think the Rangers ultimately does make a lot of sense. I also had Florida possibly on the list for Carson Soucy, just because of what I think Florida might have to give up to be able to maybe get a guy like Rantanen. But we will dive into that right away because Mikko Rantanen is number 1 on the trade bait board. This is kind of wild, right? Like the whole secret, it was all kept very quiet when he left the Avs. No one saw it coming. He is a UFA at the end of the year. Carolina must have thought, I hope they would have thought in their management office there too, if we're trading for the guy, we're probably pretty confident that we're going to be able to sign him. Like I said, he is a UFA. Apparently he wants somewhere around the range of 14 mil. That's a lot of money. Rantanen's 28 years old. Like I said, UFA. He's got a bunch of points, 70 plus points on the year. But at the age of 28, guys are going to be looking for the max contract, 8 years. I think Carolina would have been the only team that can give him 8. I'm not sure on that. But then you're looking at a 36-year-old. So 14 mil, it's a lot of money. But we've got to see what possibly teams that are just going to say, okay, well, is he a rental? Carolina doesn't want him to be a rental, although they did it with Gensel last year, but they still had Martin Necas, who was available on their team. So if I'm sitting back and I'm Carolina, you got to have some roster players and some pretty darn good roster players coming back if you're going to give up Rantanen. They still would have the money to spend on some sort of free agents if you use Rantanen as a rental, but we'll see. So one of the teams I have written down here is the Dallas Stars, where Rantanen could land. And apparently Rantanen has given a list. I know Dallas was on it. I think Vegas was on it. And Florida might have been the other one. But if I'm looking at Dallas, I'm thinking if it's player in, player out kind of deal, it's Mason Marchment, Logan Stankoven, youngish players. Well, in Stankoven, yes. Marchment you can put right in your roster. And then I have, like, in a dream world, and I don't think I would do this if I was the Dallas Stars, but I have Wyatt Johnston written down. But I wouldn't do that. Don't do that. Dallas is already pretty darn stacked. I don't really think they need to bring in a guy like Rantanen, but we'll see. The other team written down, like I said, is the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas continues to make moves. They have no problem chopping heads off there, too. They're all about winning cups, and I appreciate that. So I look at their lineup, and I'm thinking young guys who can come in. And I'm looking at Pavel Dorofeyev, right winger from Carolina. That's a guy I want back. Young, full of talent. And another guy I've circled here is Ivan Barbashev. Now, Barbashev can kind of do it all. They have him slotted on the left wing in Vegas on a third line. He can kind of go up and down the lineup. But I'm thinking if it's not Dorofeyev and Barbashev, maybe as one, it's definitely one of the two with a prospect and picks going back. But we'll see what lands there. Last thing I have here is the Winnipeg Jets. I don't really think they need it, but I thought if they want to spend the money, it'd kind of be like a guy like Cole Perfetti. But again, I don't think the Jets are going to do that. Ultimately, in the end, I think it's a better chance that Rantanen stays and ends up being a rental, and then Carolina can spend their money somewhere else. But there is a reason Rantanen's number one on the trade bait board. It is awesome. I actually do have Florida written down here too for Mikko Rantanen. But then if you're looking at something like that, it's going to be like Carter Verhaeghe and, dare I say, Aaron Ekblad. With the acquisition of Seth Jones, I feel like Ekblad could be on the way out. Not necessarily, but it definitely puts a question mark beside his future there. Don't really see it happening, but Florida's got all that cap room now. They're probably going to do something with it. They won it last year. They're all in again this year. I love seeing it. We'll see. And just the other Florida note, I was totally wrong. I thought Mrazek might have went there, but I think they did a better job picking up Vitek Vanacek. I think he's a UFA at the end of this year, maybe next, and he's cheaper. So it's a good move there. Brock Nelson is number 2 on the trade bait board, so we'll try and go through this quickly. There's rumors that Toronto's been in on him a lot, but ultimately I just don't think that the Islanders are going to want to trade him. You know, Lou is a guy that really likes his team, and you look at them on paper, and I think they're a good team. Their problem is staying healthy, and by staying healthy, I mainly mean Barzal. The guy's hurt a lot. Could they make noise in the playoffs? They could. I just don't know if they're there yet. And there's multiple rumors that the Islanders could sell a lot of guys. Lee, Cizikas' name came up. I can't remember the other one was, but Brock Nelson's name has been out there, and he got a little emotional talking about, at the end of the game the other day, talking about the fans in the building there. And he's been there his whole career, I believe. He doesn't want to leave. But I think Winnipeg is the ultimate fit here for them. They've got Scheifele as their number 1 center. Right now they have Nemestikov as their number 2. You know, he's better as a 3-4. They have Lowry on that third line center, who's just an absolute beast. So I think that would be the perfect fit. Now, if I'm Lou, I'm asking for Perfetti. But if it's not Perfetti, then it's going to be something like Iafallo and like Niederreiter just to fill the void. But then you're going to have to pay more picks and prospects, but we'll have to see. I think Brock Nelson would be a great fit in Winnipeg. Let's keep rolling. Brock Besser, 28 years old, UFA at the end of the year. I think Vancouver needs to be all in here. Not all in, but I think they need to try really hard to make the playoffs. It's been a hell of a year there. I think no matter what, get into the playoffs. Get those 2 home games in the playoffs. You never know what could happen. Maybe Elias Pettersson can figure it out. Maybe not, but obviously Besser and Vancouver are not even close on numbers right now. Besser apparently got offered $8 million a year, and he thinks he's worth a bit more. I don't see it. 28 years old. I think Besser ultimately stays, but the way it looks like he's going to have to make a tough decision. If he gambles on himself, maybe next year. I don't know. I don't think north of $8 million is really where he's going to end up. And ultimately, I'll say Brock Besser staying with the Vancouver Canucks. Scott Laughton, number 4, 30 years old, 1 year left after this year at $3 million. So this is another guy that the Leafs have really been asking about. I love Scott Laughton. I don't care if he's a third-line center or if he's a fourth-line center. Even if they're taking on that whole $3 million, I think it's fine. It's just for 1 more year after this. I think the Leafs like, Kampf and Holmberg, whoever the heck they're putting in, DeWar at fourth line center. But ultimately, if it's Laughton at fourth line center and you still figure out another third line center kind of guy, I like Laughton. I just think he's a perfect fit for this team. He's got a bunch of grit. I'd be on him a lot more than Brayden Schenn, but we'll talk about him very shortly. Ultimately, I think the landing spot is the Toronto Maple Leafs. Ricard Raquel. There's a bunch of teams that are going to want some winger help. Florida is one that sticks out to me. Now, I think we have to slow our roll a bit here. Like Kyle Dubas is saying that the price is going to be pretty high for a guy like Ricard Raquel. Having a great year. He still has term, right? So 3 years at $5 million. So 3 more years after this year, I believe that means he's 31. For that kind of price, I don't really know who's going to be on it. Maybe Pittsburgh can retain, although they're a bit of a mess. I don't know how much they're really going to want to retain. But Florida's an option. Colorado's an option. Could Carolina be in the mix here? Montreal. But ultimately, I saying ultimately like way too much. I think Ricard Raquel stays. I think that term and that price tag is just a bit too much right now, but we will see. Carson Soucy, already mentioned, gone. Rasmus Ristolainen, 30 years old, 2 years left at 5.1. Big right-handed D guy. I'm not in on it. I don't want to spend too much here. I'm not in on Rasmus Ristolainen. I don't think anyone really should be right now. Brendan Tanev is one for me that I really, really like. No matter who the hell I am or how much I like my bottom six, he's a UFA. It's $3.5 million. That's quite a bit. Maybe they can retain a little bit for the rest of the year, but whether it's my third or fourth line left wing, I would want Brandon Tanev on the team. And he's one of the four guys that I have circled for the Toronto Maple Leafs. We're going to talk a lot about the Toronto Maple Leafs, but I have Scott Laughton, Brendan Tanev, Ryan Donato, and Connor Murphy are my circles for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't want to get too ahead there because we're going to go through some of these guys, but I like them. Now we'll get into Ryan Donato, UFA at the end of this year, $2 million, 28 years old, having a heck of a year on a bad team in Chicago. You can kind of put him on the wing too if you want that help. He's more of a right wing guy than anything. Second line help. Third line probably where I would have him, but I don't think you'll see him staying. He's having a great year. Chicago's going to get some assets for him before the season's over. And let's finish on, let's go 13 guys. So 4 more guys here. Braden Shen, they have at number 10. Don't say ultimately. The Leafs have been talking about this guy a lot, and I've seen on other Instagram pages and podcasts where they're saying like Braden Shen is the piece that the Leafs need to win a Stanley Cup. Now the thing is for me is if you bring in Braden Shen this year and win a cup, then who the hell cares about the rest of the contract? You do have to look a little bit down the road, though, because it's a lot. Braden Shen, 33 years old, 3 years left at 6.5. I just don't feel like, that's basically the Tavares kind of thing if you're going to bring him back at money like that. Do I want it? Do I want a guy like Braden Shen? Yes, but do I want it at that term? No. So for right now, I would not want Braden Shen coming into the Toronto Maple Leafs. But we'll see. Where else could he go? That could be maybe another option for Winnipeg, but I just don't see it. I think that term is too long, and it's not going to be worth it in the end unless you win a freaking cup. Connor Murphy, Chicago, right-handed D, 31 years old, 1 year left at 4.4. I like him. This is a guy I like. If you can get Chicago or somebody else to jump in and retain some of that money, this is a guy that I think can go on the right side, maybe play with Riley or down in the third line because I think the Leafs probably need to add 2 defensemen. I just feel that way with all the other moves that have been going on. I like Connor Murphy, though. He takes the body. He's responsible with the puck. Could work out. And Dylan Cousins. Now, this is a weird one. I don't know what the heck's going on in Buffalo. I thought, years ago I used to look at the Philadelphia Flyers and be like, okay, I'm ready for them to take that leap now, take that step. That's well past. And now Buffalo Sabres, I thought they were going to do it this year. They have a lot of talent. A lot of it's more on the blue line, which I thought, again, we'll talk more about their blue line. But I have no idea what's going on up front. I think they just signed Jordan Greenway. Great depth winger there for them. But Dylan Cousins, I thought they would be happy as their number 2 center. It looks like they're shopping him. Young kid, they're going to get a haul for him, I would assume. There's no way they do another deal with Colorado, right? Because Colorado's probably looking for a center. But Dylan Cousins, I think, it just seems weird. 24 years old, 5 years at 7.1. I feel like it's not going to happen right now. He's gonna stay in Buffalo. Kyle Palmieri, again, we're talking about Lou and the Islanders. Could he go back to Jersey? I think Jersey's going to kind of second guess on excuse me, on who they are after Jack Hughes being hurt. if I'm Jersey, I'm kind of just putting it in cruise control, maybe buying little pieces. They are in the playoffs right now, but I mean, they're not going to go that far without Jack Hughes. I just don't think it's going to happen. And I think Kyle Palmieri could end up in New Jersey or somewhere. I like Kyle Palmieri a lot. You know, the more and more you look at this list, you're like, damn, I want to have that guy on my team. Okay, we're going to stop there for part 1. Do a little bit more. And then Luke Schenn, we have at 14. Frigate. Luke Schenn at 14, acquired by Pittsburgh yesterday. So this one was like, what the heck's going on? So talking to buddies at work, you know, is this just like Kyle Dubas knows the Leafs are going to want him? Kyle Dubas likes somebody down with the Marlies that he's going to say, yeah, give me that guy because I drafted him, so obviously I think he's amazing. But it just seems odd. Like, poor Luke Schenn, hopefully he doesn't have to play the rest of the season in Pittsburgh and he gets flipped immediately. Just a weird one there, really weird. I think Tommy Novak's probably going to stay in Pittsburgh. You know, second, unfortunately, probably second line center there, maybe third line. But anyways, okay, yeah, part 1 done. Adam Groom here for some awesome trade bait takes. See ya.